Hi guys, how you doing today? Hope you're well on this Sunday evening. I hope everything's going good. I hope that you've managed to stay away from the urges and from the temptation and triggers to gamble. So I hope everything's going well for you. Um, so it's been my first week of doing these videos, and I just wanted to really, just make you guys aware this week of the dangers of gambling and to help and encourage people. I've not exactly got the amount of subscribers and followers that I want to get at the moment. So if you can subscribe and if you can help sharing my YouTube channel, that'd be much appreciated, and we can really then step up the efforts of getting tougher restrictions put in place on gambling. I've already emailed the culture secretary and the shadow culture secretary. So let's really, get behind me. And this is our channel. This is our platform to really, get something done. But I want to touch on self-exclusion today. Self-exclusion, as you know, is something that I mostly don't agree with. Well, I say mostly don't agree. I want to put it in a way that self-exclusion for me is fine. It's definitely worth having. But does it cure and does it stop people from gambling? No, it doesn't. Okay, so the particular type of gambler that I want to talk about today is your escapism gambler, the gambler that escapes from his or her problems, the gambler that wants to get that release, that relief. This type of gambler will not gamble every day. This type of gambler will gamble maybe every 6 months or maybe even every 2 months or 12 months. It's to escape from their reality. The biggest danger, though, with these types of gamblers, which is what I am, is that they all blow a massive amount of money in a very short period of time. Now, compulsive gamblers, they'll just gamble whenever they want because they just don't care. But the release and the escapism type of gambler, which is the category that I fall into, these guys will literally blow their life savings, their mortgage money, their rent money, all in one night, and then be gone. Everything will be gone, completely gone, and they'll have no their judgment skills and their lack of understanding of what is going on while they're going through one of these binges is completely abnormal to what they would normally be like. Usually people that are this type of gambler very much may have a mental illness going alongside it, even obsessive compulsive disorder or borderline personality disorder. Okay, so this type of gambler really, when it comes to self-exclusion, does not work. For example, I'm not going to give out any website names or any gambling bookies names because I don't want to get done for any trouble, okay? But say, for example, Johnny walked into Joe Blogg's betting shop, yeah, in town centre. He gambled there all day long, and he was escaping from problems that he was having at home, he was escaping from problems that he was having at work, and he decided to walk in there and not just gamble £10, £20, £30, £50. He lost his £50. He wanted to get that £50 back. He's got his rent to pay. He's got his bills to pay. He's got his food for his kids to pay for the month. And that £50 quite quickly turned into £1,000. That £1,000 quite quickly turned into £3,000. By the end of that day, Johnny had no money left. So when he got home to his mother's house, so his wife's house, sorry, he had to tell her the bad news. Now, A, can you imagine how depressed Johnny feels? And B, can you imagine how it looks for his family and for his security? And you can imagine the type of situations that Johnny's going to find himself in. He might find himself to be homeless. He might find himself falling in divorce. So this is how quickly an escapism type of gambler, and compulsive gamblers as well, I'm not discounting that, but definitely people that want to escape or can't deal with their problems, they will gamble massive amounts of money in short period of time, and it can leave them literally in poverty, basically, okay? Now, self-exclusion does not work for this type of gambler, because while he's in Joe Blogg's betting shop all day long, he won't have any money left, so he can't gamble anyway. He'll have to find it within himself to get himself back up, make up with the missus, and stay on an even keel for the next couple of months. Maybe give his wife his bank card so she can look after his money. But then this will continue for about 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Everything might be going great. Then all of a sudden, Johnny has another problem at work, has another problem with his wife. He wants to escape from his problem, so he gambles. He can't go to Johnny's betting shop because he's banned from there. So he goes into Bill Smith's betting shop. Okay, Bill Smith has him in there all day long. He does exactly what he did the time before in Joe Blogg's betting shop, loses everything, he self-excludes, doesn't gamble for another 12 months, and then he goes into another betting shop. Then he goes into another casino. And then he runs out of all the bookies and all the casinos in the town centre, so he's got 300 places then to look for online. Do you see what I mean? So because he's not gambling every day, because it's only gambling once every 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, okay, he's not actually reaping the benefit of being able to find it within himself to self-exclude himself from everything. Because once he self-excludes and he wants to rebuild himself again, he doesn't want to gamble again, he goes off gambling for a bit. The last thing he wants to do is think about gambling. He wants to get on with his life. So, in my opinion, for these type of gamblers, self-exclusion does not work. There needs to be set limits right across the board when it comes to gambling shops, when it comes to casinos, and when it comes to website online gambling. For these companies that deal with online gambling, there needs to be stringent and very strict rules around daily limits, and it has to be compulsory. It can't be down to the individual to say, oh, give me a £50 limit, okay? It has to be down to the company. As soon as that company opens up an account online, or the very first moment he places a bet in the bookies, he is then given a limit for that day. And that limit, for example, cannot go over, say, £60, for example, in that day. It safeguards people that have got gambling addiction, especially those escape gamblers, okay, that can't deal with their issues. It stops them from blowing vast amount of money in short periods of time, okay? So for that type of gambler, self-exclusion does not work. I get so frustrated when I hear about people tweeting and online saying, what a great thing what a great thing self-exclusion is and all this. I get very frustrated when I hear about the Houses of Parliament people talking about, they've got the self-exclusion now. I get the feeling that the gambling companies and the government, okay, they hide behind self-exclusion. They think that that's it. Because they've got self-exclusion now, they think that's done now, that's brilliant, we don't have to do anything else. Wrong. Maybe 25 years ago, self-exclusion would have been enough. I agree, okay, but not now. Not with the rise of the online gambling. Not the rise of gambling in this country. Also, what you have to remember is staff members change in these places as well. So you can't control self-exclusion either, especially in the shops and the casinos. So, well, maybe in the casinos, yeah, but definitely not in the betting shops. Staff come and go, okay? There's no way a person can get permanently excluded from there. So for me, it has to be stopped. It has to be something a lot more needs to be done. Daily limits. I'd love to see a world where gambling was completely banned. I'd love to see that world, okay? But the truth is, we're not going to see that world, ever, okay? Because this government makes too much money off problem gamblers. The tax returns and things like that, okay? This government doesn't care about our health. They're more interested in the money they can gain from gambling, which is a very sad state of affairs. And I wish I didn't live in an evil world like this, but unfortunately, guys, we do. There's nothing we can do about it, okay? The government and the gambling companies will put themselves first before any kind of person with a mental illness and an addiction problem, which is real shame. But a very interesting survey was done by the Gambling Commission in 2017, where it stated they did a survey of, I can't remember how many gamblers, but a vast amount of gamblers within that period. And only 47% of those people that they surveyed were aware of self-exclusion. Now, 6% of that 47%, just 6%, had self-excluded. The other 41% carry on gambling without self-excluding. Now, that tells me a very, very big thing, that these websites, that these gambling shops and these casinos, they're not promoting self-exclusion enough. And the very small amount of 6% that did self-exclude tells me not enough people are self-excluding, because maybe they don't do it that regular. Maybe they do it and then they go to another provider. Okay, so and a lot of people aren't aware of it either. 41% of the 53% of people aren't even aware of it. Remember that. So it is definitely really, really worrying. And what I will say as well is that 79% of gamblers in the survey, 79% of gamblers believe that there's too much opportunity to gamble. Let's see if we can find some more information for you. Bear with me for 1 second. Sorry about this. 2 seconds. Where was I? Yeah. So that for me, that is pretty shameful evidence, of the fact that these gambling shops and these casinos are not doing enough. They're not putting enough measures for these gambling situations to be sorted out, basically. To spare me for 1 moment. So 40, so it is pretty shocking. I mean, end of the day, with all these shops that are out there, okay, there's no way they can keep tabs on people with the amount of staff that change. There's no way that it can happen. I'm very concerned about it. I'm tired of the governments and people hiding behind self-exclusion and thinking that it's okay when it isn't. It's a big problem, and a lot more needs to be done. And if we as people and if we as a community of problem gamblers, okay, if we accept that what the government and what the gambling commission and what the gambling companies are doing, just basically bringing in self-exclusion and thinking that's okay, they hide behind that, then we are not going to get anywhere, okay? If we don't push this, and if we don't tell them that we want daily limits put in place, we want stricter controls, stricter policy on gambling and dealing with problem gamblers, I promise you, they will hide behind self-exclusion for the rest of our lives. And I've seen people online praising companies for self-exclusion. We shouldn't be praising them, guys, okay? Because this government and these gambling companies within the UK have let us all down. They've let down the vulnerable. They've let down everybody, okay? And we have to get more controls in place, okay? Because, self-exclusion's never worked for me, because there's always been another company to go to, I would gamble £3 away in one night, nothing's left to pay. 6 months later, 12 months later, I'll just move to your next company. And online, there's never-ending amounts of companies. And people can come back at me and say to me, oh, but why don't you just self-exclude from every single company, and then you won't have to keep going to the companies? When you're a gambling addict, okay, the last thing you think about is self-exclusion. You need to get therapy to actually realise that, okay? And also, when you self-exclude and you go away from that company, you don't gamble for months on end, the last thing you think about is visiting gambling websites and going into gambling shops. So I can speak from personal experience. Self-exclusion does not work. It cannot work. And if they want to hide behind it and say that that's the best they can do, and we stand for that, then we are letting ourselves down, we are letting the youth down, we're letting the vulnerable down, and we're letting our future generations down. We have to do something about it now, guys. But I hope and pray, guys, that you have a fantastic week now. Stay strong, stay focused, keep away from gambling. Remember that the government and these websites and the bookies, they want us to be problem gamblers. They want as much money off us as they can get. They're not going to protect you. They'll protect you if you was an alcoholic or you had cigarettes, but they don't care. They want us to gamble. They want us to ruin our lives, okay? If they wanted us to help us, they would put more stricter controls in it, but they haven't, okay? You can basically gamble whenever you like 24/7. You can't buy a cigarette or buy a pint 24/7, but you can place a bet 24/7. Is that right? I don't think so. Does self-exclusion work? I don't think so. Do we have to do more to push the powers that be to put more stricter controls in place? Absolutely. Guys, I'm going to be here every single day. Comment on my videos. Let's get the conversation going. Let's share the videos. Let's push the government, the Prime Minister, the Culture Secretary, the Shadow Secretary. Let's really, really go for it now, okay? I need support, guys. I need you to subscribe. I really, really need your support. I can't do this on my own. I'm asking for your help here, guys. God bless.